Welcome to the Down There Where podcast. I'm Amy Milne. This is the show where we get loud about women's below-the-belt health from menstruation to menopause and everything in between. So many women continue to silently endure issues like endometriosis, PCOS, menstrual disorders, and menopause-related challenges without the proper support. We're done with the whispers. We're here to break the taboos, share the stories, and have the conversations no matter how uncomfortable. Whether you're dealing with your own health journey, supporting someone who is, or just ready to join the movement, you're in the right place. Let's get loud. Yolanda, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here,
I am so
Amy.
excited to have you here. So for our audience, you are one of my sister's best friends, and I got to meet you through my sister. And I probably had a girl crush on you from like when I met you, and we were at my sister's, I think, like bachelorette. We called them stagettes in our generation. Um,
Yep.
and I'm pretty sure you had a microphone in your hand and you were just like super cool and super fun. And my sister can attest to this, that I've usually introduced her to people over the years because I've collected beautiful humans in my life. And so meeting you through my sister was a gift. And recently
Oh,
we were just reconnected on a business level. And now I went from like not seeing you for years, just getting updates. I now see you every week. And that is like the
yeah,
best thing ever.
yeah.
Um,
It is. It's really
so
nice. I
I
love
am
it.
excited to have you here for so many reasons. So
I'm happy to be here
tell
to
tell
support the
me who you
cause.
are. Tell the audience who you are.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
I'm Yolanda. I live in Toronto, Canada, and yeah, I don't even know where to begin. So obviously, okay, so we're here today to talk about women's health issues. So when Amy asked if I knew anyone that could be interviewed potentially on the podcast, I raised my hand and said, "Well, I'm happy to talk about
Mm-hmm.
infertility." It's been I turned 50 this year.
Woohoo!
It's been 9 years since my last IVF
Wow.
treatment at 41, and I'm probably much more able to talk about it now. I wouldn't have been able to talk about it then, but it still impacts my life quite
Of
heavily
course.
today. I can go through months without it affecting me, and then all of a sudden it'll come down hard, usually with someone I know
Right.
that's pregnant, even when they're young, and I don't wanna become that old grouchy woman that is scared to go to the baby
Mm.
shower or isn't. I haven't been to baby showers in years, but so part of me talking about this is also helping with my own
Of
therapy as
course.
well, because if I can help anyone maybe navigate a situation like this differently than I did, then I'll feel
Right.
really good about it. And um, so, yeah, so that's what I'm here to talk about today is infertility. I'm still a very
Yes,
happy
you are.
person, but it massively impacted my life. It changed who I
Yeah.
am
And
completely
I
as a
think,
person.
you know,
So,
well, I know having, been, I don't know, is victim the right word? Sometimes it feels like we're victims of our own stories. I mean,
trauma,
yeah, like trauma,
trauma.
like I feel like we're victims and warriors and heroes and guides all at the same time. And, I think where we both are in our 50s, I'm a little bit older. Um, we have this opportunity now to reflect, which doesn't
Yeah.
necessarily make our insides and our hearts feel better. However, as
Hmm.
we are now in this situation where we get to reflect backwards, we do have the
Yeah.
opportunity to help those that are 5, 10, 15, 20 years behind us, so that, to your point, and something we were talking about before we started the show, and I know we're going to talk about it right now, is that hopefully that person who's listening and hears infertility and goes, I need to hear this, your
Yeah.
journey, while it didn't work out the way you were hoping it would work out, hopefully that
Yeah.
insight and who you are as a human and how you have navigated it is going to help someone do something different. And that is massive.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. I hope so. Um, just as a part of a mini introduction with myself, after my fertility treatments didn't work, I was struggling a lot with depression. And there was a lot of other personal things going on in my life at the time, layoffs and deaths in the family, and my mom had cancer, and my cat died, and,
Yeah.
like, just kind of, like, everything all within a space of about 8 months. The last IVF didn't work. We moved, like, all this stuff happened, and, you just kind of it just completely over like, it's like full-on trauma response, like, all these
Mhm.
things layering on one after the other. I forgot I was gonna come to a point on that, and
It's okay. Our
come to
stories
it
are allowed to
after.
overwhelm us because when you live it and it's been
Yeah.
traumatic and it's still a part of our body holds all this, and
Yeah. Yeah.
remembering it and live like, our brains live it like it happened yesterday. And
Yeah.
even though it didn't, we can still feel it. It's part of who you are. And so
Yeah.
where did this journey start for you? So you said 9 years ago was the
Oh,
last
yes, yes.
IVF.
Yeah.
Um, how did your
So
story start?
one thing I did is well, as part of my treatment, I launched a website, and it was called putthekettle.ca because I have an obsession with tea, and I didn't know what it was gonna be at that point. I could have been doing
Right.
recipes about tea, but what it turned into was a personal development website for
Cool.
women, and I started just doing research on mental health, and I shared some of my infertility stories, oh, I remember what I was gonna say. I've had many women reach out to me over the years from all over the world who've read some of my
Mm.
articles, and it's usually late at night that I get an email and them just thanking me for sharing my story, and just that alone means more than
Mhm.
anything. So that website is like my baby, it's my pet project. I love it like a child. And, yeah, so that's kind of what I thought of, just knowing that if I can even just for one person that emailed me, I'm hoping, other people,
Will do too.
what do they say? For every person that reaches out,
Right.
there could be 10 or 20 others who are
Yep.
feeling the same. So yeah, so that's kind of where I left off. I mean, I can tell you, where it
Yeah.
all
Let's start
began.
there. Because like you
Um,
said, for
well
someone who decided to join us we're in their ears right
mhm.
now, or
Well,
maybe they're watching us, that
yeah,
they read it and they were like, infertility, I need to know more. And so if they're at the start of their
yeah.
journey,
Yeah.
what did that look like for you?
Yeah, I mean, I'll start it with one stat that I wasn't aware of that I had wish a doctor, a family physician had informed me of. Um, I mean, obviously, as a woman ages, her chances of pregnancy
Mhm.
decreases. But when you live in an environment, especially when you're
Mhm.
career oriented, you see all these older
Right.
moms all the time. Women in their like 40, 42, 38, whatever. And they're just having, I'd never met anyone. And I know one other person in my life who wasn't
Mhm.
able to have kids like me. Um, but I've never met anyone at that point who couldn't have kids, so I just
Right.
assumed when it was time for me to have kids, I
Yep.
could have kids. But when you hit 35, um, you're basically taking a roller coaster downwards as far as, the quality of your eggs. Um it makes sense when you think about it, but because I'd seen everybody having
Right.
babies all the time, a lot of my friends were older, I just never thought that I couldn't get pregnant. So at that point, like looking back, I don't understand why a doctor would have said, "Oh, hey, you're 32 or you're 33. Do you want to have
Right.
kids?" Why there was never to this day ever a conversation around, "Are you aware how much your fertility drops every single
Right.
year?" From the age of
Yep.
30, actually, and it just goes down. I've got some interesting stats you can share if you like, but, um, so yeah, that if people were aware of that, and I'm hoping more women are, but
Right.
I was not, and if I had known, I think I could have made some different decisions in my life up to the age of
Right.
35. I didn't start trying to have a baby until I was 37. I was in a long-term relationship that ended at 33, and then um, got together with someone that was, he's my husband now. And we didn't start trying until I was 37,
Mhm.
almost 38. And, probably after about 6 months of trying, I thought, you know what, just because I am 38, I'm going to reach out to my doctor. And they connected me with a fertility clinic
Okay.
in Toronto. So that's when I started the fertility process and it's not anything any woman wants to do. You have to be in there definitely 5 days a week at about 7
Wow.
AM. It's pretty hard to come up with excuses as to why you're late to work every
Right.
day, because you need daily blood work at certain times of the month. So if you say the week before your period or about 10 days before your period,
Mm.
you have to start going in and they're doing blood work every day to check your hormones. And then one magical day, you're going to get a phone call that says, you need to have sex today.
Right.
You get that phone call
Yeah.
at work
Yeah,
usually.
right.
And you text your other half and you're like, we're getting it
Yeah,
on tonight, baby. And it's very romantic.
absolutely.
So that's kind of how it all started. And so at first it was trying by ourselves for probably the first year, getting those phone calls. You need to,
Do it.
it's time to do the thing. And then there was no success there. So and of course we had all the
Right.
testing. So my other half, George, he was told at the time that his swimmers were like
Oh,
Michael Phelps. So I was like, well,
great.
it's not
Here's your
his
gold
fault.
medal.
I shouldn't even say fault, but
Yes,
that's what
for
went into my
sure.
head, right? Um, and so I thought, okay, well, it's definitely me. So I continued. They couldn't work out at the time why I wasn't
Right.
getting pregnant. My hormones or everything was perfect. They would tell me every week how perfect everything looked. All my lab results were perfect, but nothing was happening. So then I did a couple rounds of IUI, which I don't know if you want me
I
to get
don't know
into
what
the
IUI
what's
is,
and
so I'm happy
okay,
to be
so
informed.
yeah, sure. So IUI, it's a similar thing where you're going to be getting your blood work done every single day. And oh, and keep in mind, if for some reason something's off one month, they'll say, "Oh, I know you were in here every day for this month. We can't do it this
Oh,
month. Let's cancel it and we'll do it
oh,
next month." Or, so there's so many variables and so much
it's
time is
time.
passing.
Yeah.
You're 38 before you know it, you're 39,
Yep.
and then and of course, fertility clinics are not covered by government
Right.
healthcare, and they're
Mhm.
very expensive. So anyway, so IUI, I'm not sure what it stands for, but essentially what it is you're taking, I can't remember. No, you're not taking any medical, like
Okay.
any hormones at that time. Um, I don't think. I'm trying to think. That essentially what happens, to get into the nitty-gritty, your other half has to come in and leave a gift in a special room with some
Great.
magazines
Yeah.
or videos. And then when it's the perfect time to transfer the gift, that's what happens. You go in, it's very lab-like. It's like a
Great.
pap test. Um, they they put it,
Inject
they
it with a nice
they
big,
do the
like
IUI procedure. It's not
right.
like a turkey baster, but yeah, and you're kind of there as
Right.
if you're getting a pap test. There's ultrasound involved, and it's at the exact perfect time. I'm sorry, I would have had much
It's all
better
good. You're not a doctor.
terminology
This is your story, my
over 10
friend.
years ago. But whatever the time when you're at the height of
Right.
your ovulation, now is the perfect day to do your IUI. George, you gotta come in, you gotta do,
Yep.
do your drop off, and then I'm gonna get the procedure done
Right.
an hour later or 20 minutes later, whatever it is. So then you wait and
Right.
see if it worked. The way you find out if it worked is by a
Mm.
phone call. You'll usually
Of
be at
course.
work and you'll get the phone call saying, "Hi, I'm really sorry to tell you that you're not pregnant."
Right.
So then So there you go. So then that's your IUI procedure. So then, you know, you try it again. And I don't think we probably took a month off because I was
Of
upset,
course.
but that was like only the beginning of it. So then I did another round of another IUI
Yeah.
cycle, it's called. And so same thing. And same thing again. I was at work, really high,
Yeah. Big
demanding corporate
time.
job. Um, and got the phone call again of someone telling you that they're very sorry that you're not pregnant. So fast forward, this wasn't working. So the next step was to try IVF, in vitro fertilization. And the difference with IUI and IVF, just need to take a
As you
sip of
can.
water, is IVF is much more expensive. It's also much harder on the body. Um, you have to take a lot of
Okay.
hormones. I don't remember what I took, but the goal of IVF is to have as many of your eggs available to
Mm-hmm.
harvest as possible. So if someone's young and they're
Right.
doing IVF, they could end up so you still go in with your
Blood
daily
work.
blood work. Oh, and by the way, you also have to get daily internal ultrasounds as well, which was the same with IUI. So every day you're
And
getting a
probed.
blood work
You're getting probed and
and
pricked
probed.
and
Yeah. Yeah. And also just as a little side note, I've never felt comfortable with a man giving me an
right.
internal ultrasound. But for whatever reason, I had to keep reminding them every day that I
Right.
didn't want a man, because I just
Well,
didn't
the
feel comfortable.
internal, I mean, for those who've never had one and those who do will understand, but like the actual piece of machinery that goes inside your body is, I mean, some may choose to, if you're choosing dildos of sorts, like from a pleasure
Yeah,
perspective,
that's what it looks
but
like.
all of a sudden to
Yeah.
have a man that you don't know putting something
Yeah.
that looks like a dildo inside your body is a bit of a mind fuck.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's something I've always been
Yeah,
very, "I don't want a man," like, and, and here's the thing, it was a gay man,
right.
like, I don't but I was still
It's
like,
like
"I don't
but
care,
it's
I
our
don't want a
minds. Like
man."
it's our like
And he
for
was a lovely
sure.
guy, but I just
Yeah,
didn't want
to
him.
stick a fucking rod inside you. Like that you're
Yeah.
allowed to not want that. There's
Yeah.
very few
Yeah.
things as we
Yeah,
know,
so
given what you and I have gone through and you more so in the invasive, just having a like we should have we should be able to say what we want.
especially when you're in there
Yes.
every day for, like, 8
Yes.
months. And when I say every day, it's not 30 days out of the month,
It
but
feels
it's
like
more
every
than
day, my
half.
friend, and you should
Yeah,
have
it's
autonomy over your
yeah,
body in terms of who gets to put what in it,
yeah,
regardless if it's a
yeah.
medical procedure or not, right?
It's even that way today when I go in for my, I've always
Yeah.
had breast issues, mammograms, and I don't want a man, who's a resident learning. I
Yeah.
want my
And fair
female
enough.
doctor.
I mean,
So, anyway,
Yolanda, at the end of the day, you have
yeah,
the given your journey, you have a you don't have a lot of faith in the system. So why are you gonna
yeah,
trust certain people, man, woman, intern, like you want the best
yeah,
of the best because you've been fucked over for how many years?
yeah. And just the basic of just feeling
Yeah.
comfortable. That's like it should be the minimum. You shouldn't feel
The minimum?
uncomfortable
Yeah.
or like you have something to be
Right.
ashamed of or,
Yeah, like you should be
so
able to
anyway.
ask for what you
Yeah.
want. And
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
feel shame, not be labeled difficult patient, not even feel like I can
Yeah.
even feel you like you're like you should just be able to say this is what I'd like for this procedure
Yeah.
because we know
Mhm.
all options are available. Just
Yeah, especially when there's only one man that
right.
worked.
Right. So, yes.
So, anyway, so I feel like I mean, this is gonna be edited, so we don't need to
It's all
write that.
good.
Sorry. Um, so the process, did another IUI, didn't work. IVF. So the goal, like I said, you take all this medicine and to have as many of your eggs
Right.
grow. That's not the right terminology,
They're
but
getting harvested, baby. They're
mature.
gonna be great.
Mature so they
Right.
can be harvested. So then you're getting your daily ultrasounds and blood work, and then they'll say, "Okay, tomorrow's the day that you're gonna come in," and it's like an
Right.
operation. Um, so you go in, it's like you're in an operating room. They had
Right.
the man there
Didn't
that I
want.
had want, but he was there, and so it's called an egg
Mhm.
retrieval. And by the way, if this is the same procedure, whether let's say you're trying to have a baby on your own
Right.
and you've gone through a sperm donor, this is exactly the same, regardless of who the donor is, whether it's your other half, whether you're a same sex couple and you've got a donor, whether you're doing it on your own, it's
Okay.
the same procedure. Um, so anyway, yeah, well, actually, I'll go back a little bit. While all these eggs are growing inside of you, you feel
That was gonna
so
be my
sick.
question.
You can't do your pants up. Um, your uterus normally is about the size of a
Mhm.
walnut, But mine was about the size of a grapefruit before my egg
Mhm.
retrieval because so much was happening in there. I couldn't do my pants up. And with everything going on, the emotions and the hormones and the medicine and the daily appointments, going to work was very difficult, but I had to keep it a secret because I didn't want to tell anyone I was trying to get pregnant. So I didn't tell anyone at work, nobody, except for two other women who I knew were also going through IVF at the same time, and I bumped into one of them in my
Right.
fertility clinic. I'm like, "Oh, hey, so and
Right.
so from marketing, how are you?" Um, but anyway, so the egg retrieval's done, and then what they do is they will then find out what the quality of the eggs is. They'll take the eggs, think of your
Right.
petri dishes, the sperm, and they'll see what can be potentially turned into an embryo. So they'll combine the sperm and the
Mhm.
eggs that are mature and see if it makes an embryo. So I can't remember my exact numbers, but at my age, I was, 39
Mhm.
by this time. I think my very first round, I had one viable embryo.
Wow.
Most people, and I think I had about 12
Okay.
eggs, but only one turned into an
Mm.
embryo. So then it was, so then what they do is they wait for the embryo to get to, I think, about 4
Okay.
days old. And they even give you a picture.
Oh,
Like, they
fuck.
do the yeah, like, talk about
Oh,
messing with your
fuck.
mind.
I
Like,
didn't know that. That's
like, I
fuck.
still have the picture of my embryo I made with my husband.
Whoa.
And, so they transfer the embryo, and then you wait to find out if you're gonna get what call you get at work,
Right.
you know? So then you get the call saying, "I, sorry you're not pregnant." So I did that 3 times.
No, don't
Sorry.
apologize.
But the picture of the so after the embryo is implanted, they're doing
Right.
an ultrasound, so they give you the ultrasound photo. So you're holding this
Right.
photo, you're like, "This
Real.
is
It's real.
this
It's
could be
real.
our child." Yep. So then even though you're not pregnant, you've been trying so long, you're starting to fall
Mhm.
in love with something that could be. So for people that just get pregnant easily and they think, because I've had people say to me, "Oh, well, at least you didn't miscarry. That's way worse." And I'm thinking, like, how could someone say that? They have
Right.
no idea what something like this could be. Um, because not having a child, it's like a loss of a dream. It's like a loss of a
Yeah.
life that you always thought you would have. Um, anyway, so you get your your picture, which I still have. Um, so I got the phone call and it didn't work. Of course, by this time, my I have mental health issues in my
Mhm.
family. I look back now and know I had depression as a teenager. I didn't know then. But my mental health
Yeah,
is
that was
starting
gonna
to
be
get,
my
worse,
as you're
worse
sharing
and worse.
the logistics of it, all my heart wants to know is like, how the fuck were you?
Oh, I was
Like,
it was awful. I wouldn't wish it on my
no.
worst enemy. Like, um, there's no way. I couldn't wish it on the most horrible person in the world.
Mm-mm.
Um, and by the way, during all of this, you're going for the daily stuff, but then you also at home, you have to give yourself injections all day long. Um, so I had to take blood thinners plus these other injections in my stomach. And my husband was my nurse for the entire 5
Right.
fertility treatments that we had. Um, you end up with bruises all over your stomach, and I'm talking the color of an
Right.
eggplant. They're so dark. And yeah, you're just getting pumped full of this is the medicine you're getting. You're getting pumped full of the hormones and you're taking 20 different
Right.
supplements. I still hate taking vitamins to
Right.
this day because it's
For
like a trigger.
sure.
Mhm. 'Cause of all the supplements I had to take. And then, um, so yeah, it's like your whole life surrounds this. You can't go on a vacation because
Might get a
you
phone call.
don't
Like,
know what your cycle's gonna
yeah,
be
and it
doing.
just and especially
Yeah,
well, and
your life's on
in
hold.
any case, there's work involved when you're of the age that you were, you're at the we know as women, there's a certain time in our lives where we are literally considered at the top of our game because of age and stage. And
Yep.
unfortunately, that's a whole other episode, I'm sure we can talk about in terms
Mhm.
of where we're seen in the
Yeah.
workplace. But you're literally like at this time, you're working for
Oh,
a
yeah, I
top
mean, I
firm.
was
You are, first of
Yep.
all, you're fucking brilliant. You're incredible at what you were doing. You shouldn't, the fact that that had that something had to give and that half of this life is being played out in a workplace
Yeah.
where work isn't set up for many of us on a good day,
No.
like from
No.
a period perspective, let alone getting phone calls of
Yeah.
that severity while you're at work. Like, where do you
Yeah.
go? And we have these responsibilities and people ask why. And
Yeah. And I had to travel a lot
yep,
with work too. I was coming up with all sorts of excuses in the book. I worked in Canada, but I worked only
right,
on US business, so they wanted me in New York all the time or going off here, there, and everywhere, and I was coming up with
right,
lame excuses as to what because, you didn't want someone to think that you were trying to get pregnant because, oh, then you might get passed up for
right.
that promotion,
And
which I was
of
going
course,
for at the
and part
time.
of why we're here with women below the belt health issues from menstruation to menopause and all this fucking shit in between is like, we can't actually just walk in and go like, let alone what you were going through. We can't just be like, hey, I'm having a really bad fucking period today. Like,
Oh, God, yeah,
I
I mean,
know
yeah.
many women in my life who haven't endured what you have or what I have or some of the other women on this. And I'm so grateful for that. And I'm so, I'm so
Oh, yeah.
grateful they've,
Yeah.
have regular cycles and they do their thing. And I'm so grateful for them because like you said, you wouldn't wish this journey on your worst enemy.
Yeah.
But there can be a
Yeah.
day where just cyclically as women, you're like, I don't want to fucking, I can't. But we can't just be like, hey, I've
Yeah.
got my period.
Yeah, I know, I know. And then, with corporate, you gotta deal with all the
Yep.
corporate drama, and which is why I'm so happy
Right?
I'm self-employed. If I was
Yeah.
self-employed at the time, it might have been
Yeah, but
that
it might
little
have
bit
had a
easier,
but it
less
also,
stress
Yolanda might have had
relief.
different stress, right? Like
Well, and I wouldn't have had the benefits that
right,
I
like,
had
what are
back then,
you
so I needed some of those benefits to
right, like,
pay
what are
for
we
medicine.
trading off? And it feels like it's a constant
Yeah.
trade-off.
Yeah, because part of it is you wonder, "I need to reduce my stress," but then you've got the so it's yeah, um, so I did IVF 3 times. I, um There was a gap between the 2nd and 3rd because I was 39 for my
Mhm.
2nd IVF, and by this point, I mean, I'm talking like 40 grand
Fuck,
in the
that's a lot of
hole,
money.
and yeah, I mean, um, but at the same time, the Canadian government was starting to talk about and you'll love this story. They're starting to talk about being able to pay for 1 IVF treatment for women if you're under
What?
41.
Who gets to fucking
Yeah.
decide that?
Well, this is available right now for anyone
Okay,
if they
that's
need to
good to
know. You can
know.
The Canadian government will pay. Now that doesn't include medication, and the medications do run in
Right,
the
and they are
thousands.
covered in your with your
But
knowledge, are they covered under benefits or no?
a lot of my
Okay.
medications were covered under benefits. Not all of them. Some of them were not covered. Some of them were only covered by certain percentages. So even with that, I still paid a lot of money towards them, even with
Right.
partial coverage and some coverage. Um, so after the second one, we were so broken by that point. I wasn't even I think we kind of decided, you know what? Like, I couldn't I wasn't
Fuck
functioning as a
no.
human anymore. And some people will do IVF, like, I think Celine Dion did IVF 6 times. I could never do that. People could pay
Right.
for me. I wouldn't
Physically and
It's such a
mentally.
horrible thing physically, emotionally, mentally, it's a lot. Like, you might have a child by the end, but you'd be so broken, you wouldn't be able to raise the child.
Well, you're broken either way,
Um,
my friend. Like,
well, yes,
like,
yeah,
and
yeah.
you were broken
Yeah. Oh, yeah,
before the outcome,
broken is the
right?
word.
Like,
Yeah, yeah. So we had started hearing this was gonna come, so all of a sudden, the following year when I turned 40, that's
right.
when it happened. I had my 40th birthday. My husband proposed when I was 39, 364 days in, so the day before my 40th birthday. Took him long enough. Um, and, then 2 weeks after that, I got laid
Fuck.
off, and I was planning I was planning to do
Round.
another IVF treatment. It
Your
was kind
birthday
of
present from the
thinking
government?
about it. Yeah, I know, right? So, I don't think I was able to do it until it was quite a few months into the year, maybe halfway through or, like, September, maybe even. And but here's the kicker, and I don't know how it works today. The clinic I was at the time, they did a lottery
Oh,
system because so many women were desperate to have a free round of
right.
IVF. We literally put our names in a hat every month. So we're already been used to getting the phone call saying you're not pregnant. Then we played a game, and that's why I had to wait so long. Then we played this game for months around putting your name in a hat to find out if you get called, if your name will get
What
picked,
the
and you could
fuck?
do IVF treatment covered by the government that month. Um, this was the choice of the fertility clinic, the way they chose to do it. I will not name
No.
them. I thought they were a great clinic. The people there were
Right.
very caring, very lovely, a very renowned fertility clinic, very expensive. Um, so at that time, I thought, you know what, I need to start looking for another clinic. I found another one who did not do a lottery system. So by the time I got in there and
Well, now
they
you got to go
did all
through
the
your
things they needed to
entire
do,
journey.
yeah, they went through my whole history. They gave me all this extra testing. And it was at this second fertility clinic that I found out I have a blood disorder,
Which is
which I
kind of
didn't know.
important.
Um, yeah, so basically, we have all these genes in our body, and there's two genes that um, can increase your chances of blood clotting. They don't
Okay.
function properly. So your genes come from two places, your
Yeah.
mother and your father. And so I had two genes that they're called heterozygous, which I got the trait from
Okay.
one parent. And so one's called factor V Leiden and one is called prothrombin. It's not common for
Okay.
people to have both. I had both. Plus, I found out I had another mutated gene called MTHFR, which is quite common in the population. It's about 40 to
Okay. That's a
50% of
lot.
people have it. But it impacts how your body absorbs folate. Um, basically, so with all three of these things, and I'm just going to pull
Yeah.
this up because I'm a bit of a
No, I love
stats
it.
nerd. Um, I just want to pull this up here. Give me a moment. Let's see if I can do it. So I'm just going to quickly tell you the stats here. So factor V Leiden, and by the way, if anyone has any of these, there's risk for all of them for deep vein thrombosis and
Okay.
blood clots. So factor V Leiden, 3 to 8% of the population
Mhm.
have it. Um, prothrombin, about 1 to 3% of the population have it. And then
Yeah.
MTHFR, the one I mentioned earlier is about 40% of the population. Um, but people who have all three of those, it's about 0.04% of the
Great.
population. It can be more common to have the two, which is 0.1%. Sorry, I'm
No, it's
being a
okay.
numbers person here, but the numbers just, I don't know, when you start trying to work out what's going on
Yeah.
with your body, you're trying to read stats and research and everything all the time. So this this was very interesting for me and my family because my father had a serious stroke when he was 38, one that left him permanently
Mm,
paralyzed on the right side of his body. Um, I remember all of it
I'm
very
sure.
clearly because I was 8 years old, and never was there any research done into why this happened
Right.
to him and could it impact his children. Um, 100%. So obviously, my father has two of these
Mhm.
genes mutated. My mom has one. I've got all three, and my sister has
Right.
two. But with me being maybe 39 years old, these three genes that were mutated that impact how your blood clots directly impacts whether an embryo can implant into your uterus. No one
And
told me
yet you've
this.
been through.
Again, it's unexplained
Right.
infertility, but it's what I have learned for myself over the years from going down really long rabbit holes 100
Right.
times over, trying to
Right.
understand why
Happened the way they
things
did.
panned out the way they did. Um, so yeah, that kind of that piece of information plays a big part in this. And so I found this out from the second fertility clinic. They went ahead with this this free
Yeah.
IVF from the government, but even with free IVF, I still think I spent $4,000 to
That's
$5,000
a
on
lot. Like,
medication.
all these numbers are a lot. Like,
Yeah.
that's like, it's For
Yeah.
some people, they don't even make that in a year when you're talking $40,000,
Oh, yeah.
$50,000,
Well,
right?
you know what? I was privileged to go through this, I guess you could say, because at that time, I was in all these IVF forums and Facebook groups, and there were so many people, usually in
Mhm.
the US, um, who couldn't even
Yeah,
that they didn't have
right.
the opportunity to even try any of these treatments. That might have been better for their mental health, but still, when you don't have the ability to try
That
something,
lives with you forever.
it's a
Like,
horrible
that
feeling.
lives with you forever.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So, anyway, so there's so many things that fit into all of this, but long story short, I did the
Mhm.
third IVF, the third and final. There was nothing else was going to be
Right.
happening at this point, even if I'd won $1 million. Um, it didn't work. I got the phone call at work, but here's the day I remember. I got the phone call at work. I remember walking into a boardroom and like completely breaking down and, trying to pull myself together. And I went back to my desk, and a colleague of mine had kidney stones
Mhm.
at the time. And we had the most lovely department. And my colleague, I hope if she's ever heard this story, because I've written about it, I hope she doesn't feel bad. But while she was in the hospital dealing with her kidney stones, our whole department sent her a beautiful basket. And meanwhile, I was going through the most painful day in my life that I couldn't tell anyone about. It was a big secret because I didn't want it to impact my career. And I remember walking right out the door and I just
Yep.
left. And, so that was my last treatment. Um, I mean, that was followed by years of really bad depression. I'm still on depression
Mhm.
meds today. Um, but it was a very bad depression for many years. I've been, like, referred to CAMH a few times, and I've done their programs, and I did a great group therapy program with CAMH for depression, CBT. I did another one last year that ended, or the year before last that ended last year, with 3 psychiatrists, all, like,
Right.
every 2 weeks, 3 psychiatrists, because, again, like, I'd be fine for a long time, and then all of a sudden, it takes over, and it's, not so there's and then social
Yeah.
workers and psychologists, and I've been doing it all for so long. Um, but I'm happy to talk about it because I think you have to talk to people about this. Not going through this journey, I lost 3 of my closest friends. They all threw me aside because it was too much for
What?
them to handle. They weren't my closest friends, but I
Right.
thought they were. We'd been friends for 20
That's a
years, since
lot of
high school.
investment of time.
Um, yeah, yeah, so 2019, because I was still having issues even before
Right.
the pandemic, that was that. They threw me aside, and I'm glad for it now. I have so many beautiful people in my life, um, but yeah, going through infertility is extremely lonely because no one understands.
Right.
My husband so I am a
Mhm.
stepmom. I'm so grateful I'm a stepmom. Um, it's 2 most beautiful young men in my lives. They were 2 and 6
They came into your life. Yep.
when I came to be, and, they were raised
Mhm.
in our house. So, I mean, I did the volunteering at school and the pizza lunches and the track and field meets and all of that stuff, and I'm so happy that I did all
Mhm.
those things. Um, but also being a stepmom who's trying to get pregnant when the ex-wife is pregnant and she's 6 years older than you, and even your husband doesn't really understand. He wants to
Mhm.
understand, but he doesn't because he has 2 beautiful
Mhm.
biological sons. Um, like I said, you never know what way life is gonna take you, but, there's so many and there's complicated feelings. You don't want to be the person who people don't feel comfortable telling that they're
Right.
pregnant. It's awful, like, you don't want that, but sometimes you just can't handle what happens to your emotions. I've had people tell me they're pregnant, and I
Yeah.
burst into tears. I mean,
But
talk
that should be
about
but knowing you and knowing you, but then also it's not a but. It's all these things that we need to do better for ourselves, not just where the medical system is failing us and we have to do better. We have to demand better and we have to raise money and research and support it and do all those things.
Yeah.
We as women have to do better for each other. Like, because two things
Mhm.
can be true at the same time, right? Like, you and I know that as business
Yeah.
people, we know that
Yeah.
as human beings. Like, you can be
Yeah.
desperately
Absolutely.
fucking broken and
Yep.
so fucking sad for yourself and
Yep.
elated and so excited for your friend.
Yeah. And here's the thing, like, I'll tell you the way I approach people who have babies, and I've had to explain this to people, and some people haven't understood. Most people have. I say to them, I want to celebrate with you, but I can't come to your
Mhm.
baby shower. I want to do it one-on-one. I can't be around people making
Right.
diaper games and talking about their pregnancy experiences. I mean, there's a lot of funny
Mhm.
memes out there. I'd be happy to share a couple with you. But yeah, about like women banging their head on the bathroom wall where they're at
Right.
a baby shower, like because they're celebrating
Yeah.
somebody else's. And it's not that we're selfish, it's that
It's a traumatic
there's so many complex emotions.
experience.
It's yeah, it's trauma, like, you're basically your whole
Yes.
life and what and that now and what I don't understand is when, you know, when God was divvying out who can get pregnant and who can't, why didn't he make the women who didn't wanna have
Right.
kids, give them the
Right.
infertility? But I always said that I wanted
Right.
3 kids. I've got curves, and I always said I could
Yep.
fit 1 on this hip, 1 on this hip, and then 1 on the back. I was like, "Perfect." Um, but that was always, like, I didn't care about marriage and fancy weddings, but I was always like, "I'm gonna have
Right.
3 kids. I'm gonna have 3
And
kids." So I have 2 kids, 2
and your
stepsons,
dogs, you have your puppies,
and
and by no means am I
my
trying to say
dogs,
that that
and
is equal to.
no, it's not,
Yeah.
and it's not the same because
No.
nobody calls me mom. So that is something specific I've been,
It's
um
a name you
You know,
wanted.
when they were younger, one of them used to call me mom all the time, and then as he got older, he stopped. The great thing is, though, I can have these
Yeah.
conversations with him. Like, I try and explain my feelings and, and I'm not his biological mom, but I'm his
Yeah.
bonus mom,
You
and I
sure are.
lay down on a track for them, be
Yeah,
run over by a
you sure
train for them,
would.
So it's all very complex, but I wouldn't if any woman can take away just you have to be in control of your own with
Yeah,
anything to do with healthcare. You have to be the one in charge, taking control, asking the questions, thinking of everything because I didn't dream that this I would be in this situation and I still get so sad about it. Like it
for
goes up and
sure.
down. I have a friend right now who's much younger than me who's going to be having a baby next month and I am so
Yeah,
happy for her. But of course it's going to be bring up
of
feelings of
course. Loss and
raw feed
sadness in
yeah,
years. I mean, I
yeah.
had I lived in a different space, having been diagnosed with endometriosis at a very young age and pretty much being told I
You
wouldn't have kids. And so that's how I mean, Eric and I have been together since high school, and so he was aware of the situation, and he always said to me, "Amy, I'm here. I love you. I'm in this with you."
Mhm.
I mean, and we grew up in a generation, like I was talking to someone at the gym the other day, like not having kids wasn't an option when we were like, no one ever said,
Oh,
"I want
yeah.
one kid." No one.
Yeah.
I didn't have a single friend, and I'm probably sure you didn't either, that were like, "No, I don't want kids at all." Like it was
No,
just
not at that
never a
time, no, no,
thing, and it's like generationally has changed.
no.
And Eric was always like, "I love you," and because we talked about, like, what would adoption look like, and I volunteered at the
Mhm,
Children's Aid Society, so I was like, "I want to help a person in my own community if we were going to adopt," and obviously
mhm.
with Children's Aid, it would have its own things, like, its own stuff with that because those kids are often born into weird and different situations.
Yeah.
And so when I got pregnant, I felt I carried so much shame and guilt because as I met people who couldn't have kids, and then I was told I couldn't, so I was a part of a certain club. Not that that was the club I wanted to be a part of, but I'd been a part of that club.
Yeah, you don't wanna be
No,
part of
but I
that club.
was, like, up until I got pregnant, that's like,
Yeah.
I took a job. I was hired at CIBC, and I was 4 months pregnant, and I took the job because in my mind, with how I'd been conditioned with my illness, like, that baby
Mhm,
wasn't gonna happen, and so I took the job.
mhm.
And so I
Yeah.
carried this whole and I didn't realize it until I've started part of my whole experience and understanding my journey. It's like I carried this unreasonable amount of guilt and shame, and I didn't know where I
Yeah.
belonged because I didn't feel like I belonged in the endo community anymore because I had babies. Like, how dare I? And
Yeah. Well, it's interesting you say that because being like starting a
Mhm,
blog all those years ago, you meet other people who are writing about
mhm,
their infertility stories. But what always pissed me
yeah,
off would be like, how can you say you went through infertility when you got 3 kids? Like, for someone who
literally all
like
the way through.
and it's kind of
Right.
like a PSA, like, yes, you probably went through an experience, but for someone who couldn't have kids and did
Mhm.
everything. I know someone specifically who told me they had infertility, but they have 3 children now, and I'm thinking, I don't know if they know what that does to
Well, they
people
don't, and
who
and
they don't, and it's
well,
probably
and I
good that
mean,
they
I think,
don't,
Yolanda,
but
that's where it comes down
it's
to, like, how can we better have these conversations openly where I'm not gonna walk
yeah.
away from you as a friend, and you're not gonna walk away from me if we
No,
like,
no.
and I'm not saying you and I specifically, but if you can, like,
Yeah,
literally
yeah.
tell me you can't come to my baby shower, I'm not
Yeah,
upset. I go, "Okay, I love
yeah,
you."
because I've had to
Right?
explain to people, "I can't come to your baby shower. If I do, I will
Right.
it's gonna affect me poorly for
Yep.
the next
And
3
that's your
months."
journey, and that
Yeah,
is your path to walk, and you're doing what you
yeah,
need to do to survive and thrive, and,
yeah,
someone might do something differently, just like we parent differently, we show up as friends differently, we show up as lovers differently, we show
yeah,
up as like, all of us are walking our own paths, and what we need to do better for
yeah.
ourselves and each other,
Mhm.
essentially, is in friendships and relationships, is support each other even if we don't understand it.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think a lot of times when I think back, and unfortunately, this is someone who I'm
Right.
not friends with anymore that did drop me like a hot potato. But I remember when I was going through it, she said something that I thought was really nice. She said, I'm so sorry. I don't know what
Mhm.
to say, but I'm so sorry. And I was
Yeah.
like, perfect. Because usually it was people just
Right.
ignoring it. It was like, it was like the elephant in the room, like, oh, don't
Right.
talk to her. She might talk about, but people, it's
Yeah.
with anything. If someone's struggling
Yep.
medically with whatever it is, there are people that feel
Mhm.
uncomfortable, and that's when you find out
Yeah.
who your friends are, and who your friends aren't, sadly.
Yep.
Well, not
Well, yeah,
sadly, it's a good thing.
doors
It's
close and open, and you and I are
Yep.
spiritual in the universal way in that sense of, like,
Yeah,
we know when the red door
yeah,
closes, it means the yellow door is gonna open and something we've made room for others,
yeah,
and I just it's
yeah.
more that we have these conversations that
Mhm.
they're therapeutic for ourselves, but also so we can help each other. So, if there's a friend who listens to this, like a gal who's going to listen to your story and go like, "Fuck, yeah," and then she can now send your episode to her whole family or her whole friend
Yeah,
group to say like, "This is why I can't come to your baby showers. I love you,
yeah,
but I can't come."
yeah, yeah. Yeah, and also I think there's a big part of it about because most people don't know someone
Right.
who's been through infertility and hasn't been able to have a
Right.
child. We all know lots of people who've gone to fertility
Right.
clinics and had kids. I mean, maybe we do. I
Yes.
personally know
Yeah.
quite a few people, which is
Of
trauma in
course.
itself because they're talking
Success
about like
stories.
anyway. That's well, that's it. Um, but just knowing you're not alone and that there is, you know, there are people out there that
Mhm.
weren't able to have kids. Yes, it's deeply impacted me. It literally changed who I was
Mhm.
as a person. Um, but it's it's happened. I have to still like I said, I turned 50 last month. I don't wanna be
Right.
sad. I and I do get sad, but I don't want to be sad. I want to live my life in a happy way as
Mhm.
best I can. And yeah, I went through, like I said, many years of really bad depression because of this. And it's it's a lot to deal with. So just knowing that if someone else is going through this, that they're not alone. There are lots of other
Yeah.
people out there who have gone through this and they're still living their life in a happy way. And I remember when I first started going to therapy, my social worker at the time, she went through fertility treatments and oh, yeah, and if anyone needs any of this, I'm
Oh, and I'm
happy to
sure we'll
give
we'll
you
share
information
your
on someone who
contact. Yeah.
specializes in fertility. But and I remember her saying to me, I have godchildren and I have
Mhm.
I'm an aunt, and I remember when she said that to me, all I thought was, "That is so
Right.
sad."
Right.
Like, and I've had people say, "Oh, my child loves you," and it's like,
Yeah.
"Yeah,
But they don't call me
yeah, but
mom,
they're your baby." Nobody call yeah,
and you get to
yeah,
sit with
and
that.
so
That
it
you get to sit with that
yeah, so
however
it's
you want, and
yeah,
those of us who love and care for you need to respect and understand that
yeah,
and
yeah.
know that.
Yeah, I mean, and it's funny when kids get older, I'm
Right.
fine with it all. Even getting better, like,
Of course you're
I'm
getting
getting
better. You've
better
done
with
incredible
things.
things for yourself. Like, give yourself like, for the
No,
credit,
I mean,
right? Like,
yeah, but, like, just, like, I have a friend who's having a baby next month, and we talked on the phone a couple weeks ago, and didn't cry, and I was genuinely
of course you
excited for
would.
her, and as I would be for anyone I
Absolutely.
love, but, just feelings, and I'll probably cry when our
Yeah.
baby's born because of
Yeah.
so many reasons. Happy tears and
Both.
sad tears, but
You're allowed.
Um, but yeah, so I think just talking about this stuff is so important. I took a few little notes too, and I just want to
Yeah.
refer to them quick because I think if we're able to have these conversations with our doctors, especially if they're not coming to us
Well,
with
and they're pretty much not.
saying, "Are you aware of this? Do you want to have kids? Should you do this?" I I think it's so important, like I said, for us to take our own
Mm.
healthcare in our hands and ask the questions. And if your doctor is not helping you
Yeah.
or doing what you need, you find someone else, which I'm sure
Which
you
I
agree
do,
with
and
your
I think
situation
the hardest
too.
thing is for all of us is, like, sometimes depending on the size of community you live in or how old you are, where you like,
Mhm.
you may not there might be 3 doctors in your community. We
Oh
we
yeah,
know.
I mean, this is me
Yeah, like,
living in
we know
Toronto.
that you can't just get a doctor. And,
Oh yeah,
it's
absolutely.
crazy because we could all go see a GP, and whatever that GP has decided is his or her specialty or what they want to know about or we're all going to get a different answer. And so I think that's where the empowerment, as much as it's frustrating, the
Yeah.
empowerment has to be because those doctors are human beings too.
Well, and it's interesting you say that because I don't
Right.
blame the doctors.
It's the system, but
I've always had lovely doctors. They weren't educated
yeah.
to help me. Um, I even remember because my husband's family, they have this condition called thalassemia, and my husband has something called thalassemia minor. So you wanna make sure you don't have 2 people having thalassemia minor having a baby together because there's high risk of their child having thalassemia major, which is an extremely
Okay.
life-altering condition that is it's very scary. Um, so I remember my doctor asking, like, she mentioned, and I think I was 34. We'd had the talk about, "Yes, I wanna have kids," but she didn't say any so she tested me for
Right.
thalassemia, but she didn't say anything about, "Oh, FYI, um, you really wanna have kids? Well, time's a ticking, honey.
Right.
I mean, you're 33,
Right.
34. What are you
Right.
doing right now? Get yourself to the clinic and get those
Right.
eggs frozen or start trying right now." So
Yeah, it's
I think that's
it's
the
n-
thing.
we don't. Well, one, as women, we're so under-researched. So, we're so
Yeah,
under-researched and we're so unknown, and the most part of what we're often known for is basically having babies. So, if you can't have a baby, that's completely
yeah,
under-researched and supported, right? When there's a complication
yeah,
to that, like, we're under-researched, and so no
yeah,
one knows about us, and what they do know
yeah,
about us isn't
yeah.
enough. And so
No, no.
they
I mean,
can't, and
it's
then because the system is so overloaded or we don't even have options. I mean, now we're finding them in our age to, like, go pay for things, but you also have to have fucking money to at 23 years old, I couldn't be paying for the healthcare that I'm paying right now
yeah,
to deal with surgical menopause because no one knows enough about fucking surgical menopause. So,
yeah,
it's like and that's a guarantee or not a guarantee, but it's like if you have it, it's a guarantee. Like, if you have to have surgery, it's a guarantee, but it's like I wouldn't have had money at 23 years old when I was first diagnosed with endometriosis
No.
to take my own path. Like like to even
No,
know that I could
no,
have
I mean,
paid for something or gotten on a
yeah,
plane and gone to another country. Like, I
yeah,
mean,
yeah.
that wouldn't have even been an
Yeah, I
option.
mean, I think yeah, I mean, like I said, it's a privilege to be able to even do some of this stuff. I think if anything that I want people to take away is I just want people to have the choice to
Yes,
make
I like
decisions.
that.
Um, if I had known I had a blood clotting disorder and gone through all of this, and then my chances of getting pregnant were so slim when
Right,
I look at the numbers, not that
right,
you told me any of this, um, maybe we could have gone down the adoption
right.
path. There was no money, and I was completely broken. There it wasn't because adoption as well is a whole other
Absolutely.
you could try and adopt for years and it falls through, it's a nightmare, so, yeah, so, I mean, I think if we can just give women
Right.
choice, if we have the knowledge, then we can make choices, and if anything, you can say, "Well, at least" and I know I did everything I could have done, but if I could have gone
Right.
back in time and known things, I would have said to my beautiful husband, "We need to start having a
Yeah.
baby right now. I'm not gonna be focused on that promotion. I'm gonna
Right.
do this." And like I said, the outcome could have been the same, but maybe it
Well,
wouldn't have
and
been.
I think,
I don't
like you're
know.
saying, the
So,
choice and the knowledge and being able to look at going, okay, so having biological children, is it or isn't it an option? None of us know until we start trying. And, or
yep.
like you said, if you knew you had the blood clot disorder, it might have physically, like your husband, like George would have picked you over another human being in a heartbeat. And so then what's that next choice, right?
Yeah,
To your
yeah,
point, if you at
yeah,
30 years old knew that
yep,
adoption would have been an option, and because you might not
mhm,
have been able to because of all these markers, then
yeah,
it would have looked very different. And to your point, it's choice.
yeah,
And so if someone's
and I
listening
think
right
yeah.
now, or someone is listening right now, and they're at the beginning of they've just been told something that they don't know, how would you suggest they get empowered? How would you like what do you offer them from your story?
Yeah, I'd say just get as much information as you can, but while you're going through it, get the support, the emotional
Mm,
support you need. That is just as important as all the physical things that are being done, whether you're going through a
mhm,
fertility clinic or not. Like you said, some people can't afford to go to a fertility clinic, or it's just not an option for them. But you need, while you're going through this physical stuff, you have to understand that so many things come up, and any emotional support you can get is critical because also when you're told that you have to have sex
right,
at a certain time, it's nothing like ruining the romance in a marriage when you can't get
right,
pregnant every month for years and right. I mean, so there's luckily I was with an extremely
mhm,
supportive man who was I couldn't have asked for anything more with that. Um, and he was very understanding when I lost my mind many times through, I look back and think I turned into like a raving maniac, crying and screaming and,
yeah,
all of the above, like meltdowns. But yeah, I'd say just empower yourself to know everything. Ask questions with your
mhm,
family doctor. Ask questions with any doctor you can. Do the research. We're so lucky because we have so much information
now,
available to us now. Ask
yeah,
ChatGPT. ChatGPT has shared more about what is going on with me than any doctor ever
right,
did. They always said I had an unexplained infertility, and I think that was the hardest part, not knowing
right,
why. It wasn't because I had endometriosis or some other condition. I feel like if I was always told you couldn't have kids, that would have been like,
yeah,
great, I'm going to adopt. But I think it's the trying. I'm a I'm a
yeah,
goal getter. I'm someone who, when I want something, I make
yeah,
it happen. And this has been the only thing I haven't been able to do. So when you
yeah,
don't have control over and you're a
yeah,
control freak, I think it's
even
that much
harder.
even harder. So just empowerment, have the knowledge, and get the emotional support, um, and know that no matter what happens, it will be okay. And there's lots of
Yeah,
options out there. There's lots of things you can do out there. But ultimately, we want more people talking to
yeah,
women about this at any age.
absolutely. Well,
So
I think we could talk forever and ever, and I'm grateful that I get to because you're my friend. And
Yeah.
if someone wanted to get in touch with you, how would they do that? I'm going to drop it in
Mhm.
the show notes, but how would someone, if they wanted to get in touch with you, how would they do that?
Yeah, sure. Well, you can just actually, to make it easy, just go
Okay.
to my website,
Okay.
putthekettlon.ca,
Perfect. Yeah.
put the kettle on. And there's a little contact section you can fill
Great.
out the form. I'm also on Put the Kettle on
Okay.
CA on
Great.
Instagram, so you can send me a DM there. Um, and then I have my marketing consulting business, but we don't need to talk about
Well,
that
one
stuff
day
here.
you
But
should
if
because
you
anyone who needs some marketing support or help, I'm like,
yes,
you
well,
are,
yeah, Yolanda at
yes,
fullcircledigital.ca.
and we
That's how
will
you
put
can
that in the
find me.
show notes.
But I'll send you the
We'll do
links.
that.
Yeah,
This has
yeah.
been a pleasure, and I'm so grateful. And I
Thank you.
know you have just changed someone's life
I hope so.
for
I
sure.
hope so.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Mwah.
Thanks for getting loud with us today on the Down There Where podcast. If this conversation resonated with you, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with someone who needs to hear it. Subscribe so you never, ever miss an episode. And leave us a review. It would help us reach more women who've been told to suffer in silence. And here's the thing, awareness isn't enough. We need action, we need funding, we need change. That's where the Down There Affair comes in. We're a global peer-to-peer fundraising movement putting menstrual health center stage, from menstruation to menopause and everything in between. Diseases affecting men receive twice the funding of those affecting women. Only 11% of research dollars go to women's health. We're here to change that. Visit downtherewhere.org to register for our next walk, start fundraising, or join the movement. We can't do this alone. Oh, and follow us on social at the Down There Affair, because this conversation doesn't stop when the episode ends. Whether you're dealing with your own health journey, supporting someone who is, or ready to demand the care we all deserve, you're in the right place. Getting uncomfortable is where change happens, and we're never going back. I'm Amy Milne. Stay loud.
Oh, that was binge-worthy.